Good afternoon, preppers. Welcome to Goshen Prepping. A different kind of video for you today. I'm going to kind of review, but even more so, put in some prepping information, the way we see things from the movie Oppenheimer. I went to see the movie Oppenheimer. It's either that or Barbie. I chose Oppenheimer. I really love the fact that when you look at these historical, almost documentary type movies, I love them. I love them to death. And when you look at the historical context of the way things took place at the time, it gives you a better perspective of what was going on, like with the thought of Americans at the time, obviously, in World War II, with the development of the atomic bomb. On top of that, being a nuclear specialist, I really wanted to see, kind of like at least through Hollywood's view of what it kind of looked like back then. I've gone through a lot of training in the military as being a nuclear specialist and know exactly a lot of the things that took place as like nuclear and physics wise back then. I kind of wonder if they were going to put some classified information in the movie, which they did not, which is nice. They did get one thing wrong, which I can't talk about that either. I was like, that's not how it happened, because I've seen a lot of the actual original records of how this took place. But I loved the fact in the movie, and by the way, there's going to be spoilers in this video. If you haven't seen the movie, it's up to you if you want to keep going or not and listen to the rest of this or watch this afterwards. It's up to you. But, I mean, there's not really much spoilers for the fact that we know what happened. Oppenheimer oversaw the Manhattan Project, which developed the bomb. But in addition to that, though, there was a lot of political strife that took place with Oppenheimer, and that's what I'm going to get to in just a minute. So stick through the video. I'm just going to kind of like give you my thoughts of the way things are going now, especially that Oppenheimer dealt with the same thing back in the 40s and 50s. It's very interesting. All right, so Oppenheimer, by the way, I forgot the general's name, but I think he was a colonel at the time, but became a 2-star general during the Manhattan Project. Went to Oppenheimer. He was looking for somebody to head the project. Oppenheimer was not his first choice, and other physicists were saying, this guy's not your first choice. But Oppenheimer said, no, I am your choice. You're going to pick me for this project. And I love mankind, our ability to take on a challenge, especially a huge challenge like the development of a nuclear bomb, because even the fission of a uranium atom was brand new at the time. And they're like, oh my gosh, if we can fission the atom and we can make a nuclear bomb from this and actually make a massive explosion in the amount of kilotons, is basically what they even deduced before they even launched it, as opposed to conventional weapons. And you know what? Challenge accepted. And that is human ingenuity. That is, I mean, even the United States, that's our ingenuity. We always want to say, oh, you know what? Here's a challenge. We want to rise up to that challenge, accept that challenge, and conquer it. That's who we are as mankind. That's why I always talk about, by the way, if you see the elites trying to put us in a box or a 15-minute city, I'm like, good luck with that, because mankind, we can't be contained. There's a lot of like Z generation right now who can be contained, but mankind cannot. So Oppenheimer said, I'm your guy. I'm going to do this for you. Basically, really giving the general almost no choice. And off they went to develop the nuclear bomb. Again, long story short, they did it. Good job. The whole situation, though, I loved the development of how their thinking went through and what kind of different types of nuclear devices are going to be made. Not going to get into that kind of information. That's different. Even like some of the classified stuff I know, I don't want to intermingle with this video. But ultimately, even though the general worked with Oppenheimer, and the general made it very clear, I'm in charge of this situation. This is a military project that's going on, and Oppenheimer, you'll do what I tell you, even though there's like some butting heads there. The general was always a square guy. He always told Oppenheimer, this is what we're going to get done. I have deadlines. We need to get it done. Let's do this and this and this. And Oppenheimer, you're my man to do it. But he did it in a way in which basically he gave it Oppenheimer the respect of, you know what, take on this job. I'm in charge of it, but you are going to get things done. And Oppenheimer thrived in this challenge, in this situation, and obviously overcame and conquered and took care of the business, and obviously made the first nuclear bomb, which they tested just off-site right there in New Mexico. But here's where here's where basically the film kind of threw me for a loop, because the first 2/3-ish was about the development of the bomb. The last third was the political upheaval because of the situation and how Oppenheimer's mind changed. And I saw it this way. If you saw the movie, please let me know if you saw it this way too. Oppenheimer basically wanted to continue. The bomb was done. Yay, they dropped the bomb, and now they're sending off 2 more. They're heading towards Japan. And Oppenheimer said, all right, General, I'd like to go to Washington with you, because look, I'm the physicist who oversaw this. I'm the physicist who did this. And the general was like, why? Why would you come? In other words, The government literally, even though Oppenheimer was one of the top minds of the field in developing at that time one of the most sophisticated weapons on the planet, he was still nothing in the eyes of the government, nothing but simply a tool. I know, Oppenheimer, you're a physicist, an amazing physicist, by the way. I know you oversaw this whole $2 billion project. I know you actually developed a nuclear bomb, but you're just a tool. You're just a tool for the government. You're a tool for the U.S. military. The general basically said, why would you go to Washington now? Your time is done. And again, the general did no condescending, by brushing him away, but the government sure enough did, because your job is done, Oppenheimer. The government, practically speaking, doesn't have a whole lot of use for you now. Thank you. We'll take it from here. And that's literally what they said, because at one point, Oppenheimer said, I want to talk to you about the correct elevation. And he's like, no, all due respect, we've got this now. Your job is done. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Now, their intentions were never to let the door hit him on the way out. Their intentions were to keep him on, to help develop an H-bomb. But Oppenheimer very quickly started seeing things differently for the fact that the thousands and thousands of people, mostly civilians who died from the 2 bombs that he created, Oppenheimer had blood on his hands. He was devastated by what happened and was haunted by the things that took place in the videos he saw, the videos I've seen too, mind you, of the things that took place in Japan. Absolutely awful. And he completely shifted and instead said, oh, wow, we need an H-bomb. I mean, he was never really totally on board with the H-bomb. He was kind of heading that way, but like right now, let's develop the atomic bomb, then we'll do the H-bomb later. Now he was completely against it. He very clearly told the government that, hey, you know what? We should not develop an H-bomb. We should not have an escalation with the Russians. We should not go into what we experience today, where we worry about the hundreds and hundreds of nuclear warheads pointed at one another between us and Russia and China and North Korea, and the list goes on and on. All of that is because of the government progressing on beyond what Oppenheimer did. And Oppenheimer tried to stop this. And so instead of them saying, oh, thanks, Oppenheimer, but we got this, at this point, now he's under the magnifying glass of the government, and they put him under indictment to find out if he is being treasonous. You know what? You must be a Russian, Oppenheimer. You must be a communist. And as he went against the system, trying to go, even though he's a huge public figure, that's the more pressure the government put on him to shut him up. And that's the kind of stuff that bugs me, because when we get into the United States, our founding fathers, I believe in the United States, the founding fathers had good intentions to try this new thing where it's we the people are the government. We the people are the ones to decide things. And it's completely shifted into something that's like a monstrosity now in comparison. And Eisenhower even had talked about this too, how the military-industrial complex is taking over. And that's what we see the very beginnings of in Oppenheimer. The movie talks about how, hey, thanks, Oppenheimer, for basically arming us with the most advanced, powerful weapon known to mankind. Now get out of here while we take over. And it blows my mind, makes me sick to my stomach. Even though I was a nuclear specialist, even at the time when I was in the military, I was a tool. I was a very well-trained tool. A year and a half of training in the military before I did all the things I did. Just another tool. Thank you for your service. Now be gone. We are so far beyond World War II. We are so far beyond the late 40s, early 50s when they get into H-bomb testing, that even then, Oppenheimer, who was like the top of the top as far as famous physicist and trying to stop this as far as becoming an activist, couldn't do it. What's going to happen to us now? I hate to say it, but I think that every shred that we have of the United States and other first world countries too, by the way, who have the same ideas that we the people are the ones in charge, I think those ideas are gone now. And so even though this is a quick critique about the movie Oppenheimer, it comes down to prepping, because we have now on our hands a government who you either have a choice of being a tool for them, a tool for military, a tool for climate change, a tool for anything that they spew out over the last 3 years and go their way, or you become, just like Oppenheimer did, an enemy of the state. And that's the whole thing I got from that movie. which again, I went in looking really excited about how it was going to come out. And it was a great movie, by the way. It was fantastic. But the parts I picked out of it make me fear for our country today, because that was, 70 years ago? And what's happening now?